Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to the channel, or welcome back to the channel. This is Ozark Living. Today's topic, we're going to talk a little bit about the transportation options here at Lake of the Ozarks. How do we get around? Let's check it out. Alright guys, hey, my name is Scott, and if this is your first time visiting the channel, welcome. And while you're here, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button along with that notification bell, because every Tuesday and Thursday, I'm dropping a new video telling you everything you need to know about moving to or living in Lake of the Ozarks. We're also a group of licensed lenders and agents, so as much as I love making these videos, I would love even more to help you with your lending or real estate needs. So that number popping up below, I am the guy who answers the phone calls, the text messages, and the emails. If there's a question I can answer for you or a scenario I can help you out with, please don't hesitate to reach out and let me know. In the meantime, we want to talk a little bit about some transportation options here at Lake of the Ozarks. And we've talked to some folks who come down and asking on how to get around and what's the best and easiest ways to get around. So figured we'd do a quick little video just to talk a little about some of those options. And the number one option is obviously use your own car, right? Bring your own vehicle, use your own transportation. And when you're doing that, understand that the type of roads and the environment that you're going to be in. My family is a perfect example. So we've mentioned it before. We live in Colorado and we live here in the Ozarks. And when we make that 10-hour drive, and at the end of that drive, you start to go up and down hills and around corners, and you do that for the last hour and a half of the trip, you can make yourself a little bit car sick. And so when you have a 3- and a 4-year-old and a wife that gets a little queasy, then what you need to consider is thinking about is obviously just the roadways once you get down here. If you're driving in your own car and you're used to city environment and you're used to very perfectly laid out streets in a grid type area, the hills and the curves around here could cause a little bit of car sickness. And clearly one of the number one ways of getting around in transportation is going to be just using your own vehicle. And one thought to consider is if you're traveling in, and understand that the Ozarks is in the middle of Missouri, and so if you're not driving and you're flying in, you're probably going to fly to St. Louis or Kansas City. Those are the two major airports. They're about the same distance away, so you're going to figure out whatever one is the cheapest flight cost for you. But once you get there, you're going to obviously have to rent a vehicle. Renting a vehicle, all good. Make sure that that vehicle is conducive for, getting around this environment. If there's a way to get like an SUV or something like that, cool, because you will go into some, rough roads, some gravel environment. You're going to have a little bit of a different terrain than just cruising around in a Prius or something. Another way to get around is obviously just using the public transportation system. And so there are buses that move around the lake. It's not going to be as robust as your city environments. And so I wouldn't come down and bank on and plan on using those systems on an everyday basis. But if you need to get around or get down to Osage or go over to Camdenton and do certain things, you can find the bus system and the bus routes down here. It's obviously a very cheap and inexpensive way to travel and move. And if you do get car sick or you do get motion sickness, then you can just sit there and breathe into a bag and not have to worry about actually driving. You can just try not to throw up. So outside of the bus systems, you will have your taxis, your Ubers, your Lyfts. You will have those services. And so if you are coming down on vacation and you don't want to bring a vehicle, or maybe you're with a group of people and you don't want to borrow their car, whatever that looks like, you do have obviously the ability to, call an Uber, call a Lyft, grab transportation wherever you want to go. You just want to make sure that you have a good cell signal wherever you are, so you can grab the Wi-Fi in order to use those capabilities. Remember, out here it's a little bit more remote. Wi-Fi and cell signals aren't as robust as they are in a city environment. And so, yep, all of those services are still here. You can still call for those Lyfts and Ubers and taxis. You just got to have the cell signal in order to do it. And one of the last things to consider when moving around or transportation when you're down here, if you are on the water or close to the water, is obviously just use your boat. There's a ton of people that literally use their boats as their means of transportation, and you can get from one side of the lake to the other side in 5 minutes, where sometimes in a vehicle it could take you 30 to 45 minutes. And so depending on your world, depending on the lifestyle you're living, depending on your work environment, We talk to a lot of people that live here, they're close to the water, maybe they're in a second tier home, maybe they're just close to a marina that they can park their car, walk down to the dock, grab their boat, and they can get a lot further on a boat just because, again, there's only so many bridges that cross the water. And so to go around the lake in a car is obviously probably going to be the fastest, but if you're just going from one side to the other, it is going to be way faster to just hop on a boat and go across. And so if you have that ability and you have the boat, cool. There's also boat taxi services. So if you don't want to do that, call an Uber boat. And an Uber boat, I don't know if it's Uber boat, but call a taxi boat and they'll come over and pick you up and take you to where you want to go. So anyway, thinking about some of the transportation options down here, of course, most people just have their own vehicles, they're cruising around. And if you are using your own vehicle and driving around, just be very cautious of getting motion sickness or car sickness, right? Last thing you want to do is be driving around and then have to pull over. So when making the transition, of course, you're going to have all types of services to get you around. The number one service is obviously going to be using your own car. Just some things to think about and consider is obviously just car sickness, a lot of hills, a lot of curves. Last thing you want to do is to get sick while you're driving around, but think about that. Use your own vehicle. Of course, that's the number one. Of course, there is public transportation and bus systems. So if you don't want to drive your own vehicle and you want to get on the bus routes, you'll have to kind of look that up and figure out, does that bus go to the places that you need to? But bus systems will take you around Camdenton's and Osage and other places. And so think about the bus system if you want to. Clearly, you got to have the right cell phone coverage and signals in order to call those Ubers and Lyfts and taxis. But that is an easy way to get around. If you're down here with a group of people and you don't want to bring their vehicles or you don't want to borrow their cars, then cool, call an Uber, call a Lyft. And then in my opinion, if you're anywhere close to the water and you got to go from one side to the other or go to a restaurant or go to town or go do something, jump on your boat. And obviously we're down here because most of us love the water and that's the funnest thing to do. And so the more that you can be on the water, obviously you're just going to enjoy that the most. And it's actually a pretty easy way to get around. And then again, of course, right, if you have a boat and you're able to get around or you want to call a taxi boat, then it's the most fun, right? We're all down here because we love the water. We like to be close to it. Easy way to get around. And so you have that ability, try to get on. And of course, then you have obviously the boats and the taxi services. So if you have the means and the capabilities and you need to get around the water, jumping on your boat and going from one side to the other is going to be maybe the fastest way to do it. Maybe not, but it's certainly going to be the most fun. So just wanted to give you some ideas. Again, if you're thinking about moving down or relocating, some tips or some things to think about when you're trying to get around the lake or go from one side to the other. Some things to think about and consider. So again, we say it all the time, we are licensed lenders and agents, and as much as I love making these videos, I would love more to help you with your lending or real estate needs. So that number popping up below, I am the guy who answers the phone calls, the text messages, and the emails. If there's a scenario I can help you with or a question I can answer, please don't hesitate to reach out and let me know. And until then, we'll see you on the next video.